Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another edition of D.E.I. Deathwatch, the show in which we chronicle the downfall and the doubling down of diversity, equity, and inclusion. I'm your host, Scribelight. Welcome to Monday! There's something, I don't know. I could be more chipper if I tried. But you know what makes me really chipper? A wood chipper. But other than that, who's joining me on this beautiful Monday afternoon? The Alexander. Good morning. Afternoon, I guess. It was morning, now it's afternoon. Time flies when you're having fun. Mike R., good afternoon. Corey Suzuki, good afternoon to you. Keeverdam, good afternoon, and thank you, Keeverdam, as always, for providing the link to the Leukemia Lymphoma Society donation page. Guys, that's pinned to the top of the chat box. If you can donate to that, please do so. But even if you can't, if you can share that out on social media, that would be appreciated. So thank you ahead of time for that, and thank you, Keeverdam, for providing the link. Mike Savage, Blarg, some Namyol Nation, good afternoon. Advocatus Diaboli, good afternoon. JB, hello. Who else is here? Mabuj? Mabuj? How do I say that correctly? Let me know in the chat. I'll do my best. Good morning. Afternoon, whichever. Finally caught a live show. Well, good. I'm glad to have you here. Hope you enjoy it. Kiro Soldier, good afternoon. Who else is here? Alice Morgan, hello. Unfair Ophelia, hello. Josh Hammond, good afternoon. Tyre Deos, good afternoon. Walter Tomaszewski, hello. Andy Masterson. It's Andy, the Toy Master Masterson, everybody. Over on my channel, there is a little hangout that Andy and I did. Guys, it was last weekend already. Gosh, time flies again. We talked about comic books and Daredevil and all types of stuff, and hopefully do that again in the near future. So, hi, Andy. Hope you're having a good day. Daryl Odell, good afternoon. Mobudge? Okay. I will do my best to remember. I try to get people's names right around here if I can. Mabudge. Just don't ask me about Michiru Kirarugi, because I always stumble there. Morgan King, hello. Juliet, hello. The Dead Man, hello. And I think that's everybody. If I missed you, if you're lurking, if you're in the future, good afternoon. All right, let's start off with an update from a story that I looked at in the last episode of DEI Deathwatch, and that is articles and or historical recognition of certain Air Force veterans because of overzealous caution on the whole DEI thing. Colorado Air Force veterans article restored after initial removal under new DEI policies, because you see, DEI means anything that is female or not white must be suppressed. As you all know, that's exactly what going against DEI means. Anyway, after first sharing her story with CBS News Colorado last month and the national news outlets, an article documenting the career of Nicole Malachowski, the first female U.S. Air Force Thunderbird pilot, is back online. Many links to her other stories, however, still can't be opened, alongside thousands of other veteran stories taken down last month following the Department of Defense's new policy ending diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. Quote, "It's not about restoring a singular article. It's not about one service member or veteran story. This is a much larger issue," Malachowski said. Again, overzealous and ridiculous overcaution. Yes. Earlier this year, President Trump signed an executive order, quote, "ending radical and wasteful, unquote, government DEI programs." Last month, the Department of Defense followed those directives from the White House and, in the DoD's own memo, moved to remove anything that promoted diversity, equity, and inclusion from websites and social media platforms. That also included some records of war heroes and historical firsts like Malachowski's. Why? I don't know. Personally, I don't get the logic of that one. How is a historical fact a DEI program? How does taking down an article that's been posted online for years save money or fight back against an ideology of identity politics and not meritocracy? I personally don't know. And I'm being sincere. I'm not being facetious. I don't understand the logic. I would love to know whose decision that was and for them to explain it. Mr. Trump, supporting the implementation at a public event earlier this year, said, quote, "We are a country that's based now on merit for success. Merit. If you're good at what you do, you're going to go places," unquote. But after Malachowski's story gained national media attention, some of her service career milestones were put back online. And why shouldn't they be? Quote, the Air Force did, in fact, restore one of these articles, which certainly was a surprise. But what's important to note is that it restored a singular article. The rest of these articles are still showing page 404 not found, Malachowski said, referring to a common web page error message. The Air Force shared a statement with CNN saying, quote, the U.S. Air Force salutes Colonel Malachowski's service as a leader, warfighter, and pilot. Digital content related to her career is currently being restored across all Air Force platforms, unquote. Okay, why was it removed in the first place? The statement went on to say, quote, we continue to review all content under our purview to comply with Defense Department directives while honoring our history, unquote. Quote, I don't think we should stop putting the pressure on until every single one of those articles is restored, Malachowski said. I mean, not knowing every single article's content, or thrust, so to speak, I don't disagree. This might be we're entering conspiratorial territory here, but I have a feeling, as I've seen in other places, that, and I said this on the previous episode, that somebody in the Air Force decided in some sort of like petty, childish, petulant way that, oh, well, we're getting rid of all DEI stuff. Well, then I'll just remove every single article about all these demographics. So there you go. We're complying. Trump. See? That kind of thing. I have a feeling. I could be wrong, but this is a pattern I've seen across several other institutions where just across the board, they'll just delete things that are irrelevant, and yet somehow they think they are. Anyway, some pages previously taken down have been restored, including documenting known veteran, civil rights leader, and baseball icon Jackie Robinson. Again, why would you take that down in the first place? Because, you know, and here's the other thing, too. Probably there are some people who still believe that DEI equals civil rights. But many others are still down, including some acknowledging the first black military pilots, the Tuskegee Airmen. Quote, at the end of the day, the policy is saying to all of these veterans whose stories have been erased, thank you for your service, it was good, but it's not good enough to be remembered, unquote, Malachowski said. Again, I would love for somebody to quote for me from the executive order that said the U.S. Air Force is to remove all articles dealing with anyone who is not a straight white male. Someone, I guarantee, well, I can't guarantee. I can't guarantee, but I have a sneaking suspicion that most of this stuff was done by some activist within the U.S. Air Force, or someone who is just so dense as to not understand what they're doing. But anyway, do I digress? I don't know if I do. Okay, Native, thank you so much. It's malicious compliance. That, again, that was the phrase used in the last episode. I was trying to remember it. Thank you. That is a very, very good phrase. It's malicious compliance. They probably evil scientist cackled when they complied with the bad orange man's order, or they're very dumb, or both. Yes, I think it's more on the activist side, the malicious compliance side, than it is on the dumb. But there's probably a dash or two of that in there, too. Because this is not the first instance, I forget where it was elsewise, but there was some malicious compliance, as you've said, in some colleges and universities on such things. Except in those instances, and I've mentioned this before, where it may be malicious compliance, but it might also be taking what's been passed as law or legislation literally, because what else can you do? And we'll talk about this in a moment here with another story. But before I get to that, Tyre Deos, no one cares about 90% of the military members through these articles. But it's the principle of the thing. It doesn't matter whether it's care or not. It's the principle thing that you're going to purge the permanent record, such as it is, or, you know, portray that there's some sort of shame to be had about certain individuals or events because of DEI or something. It's the optics of the thing. And it is stupid, and it's something that shouldn't be happening in the first place. So you're right. It's probably not the end of the world as far as the majority of the population is concerned. At the same time, though, it is a slight against people who deserve recognition. If you're deciding to group them in amongst, oh, well, we have to comply with Trump, so let's get rid of all these people from the record. Yeah. Kirsten Scholl is over on the X machine. Yes, guys, I'm simulcasting over on X. If you happen to find me there, please do retweet the stream. Otho May, good afternoon. Hi, Scribe. I'm in a very loud CNC shop, so might have to yell to say hi to me. LOL. Well, I'm not going to yell because I don't want to, annoy the rest of the people with their headphones on and things. But I'll just go, hi, Otho. That was a little bit. What can I do? Not much else. But anyway, moving on to the story I was just alluding to, let's talk about Oklahoma. This was the story that I was going to read yesterday on the Sunday stream before I remembered, oh yeah, this is a DEI story. I should save that for tomorrow. Oklahoma bill to codify Governor Kevin Stitt's DEI ban at universities clears hurdle. Okay, an Oklahoma Senate bill that would codify Governor Kevin Stitt's executive order prohibiting state funds from supporting diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives at higher education institutions is inching closer to becoming law. Okay. And I'm probably going to repeat this as time goes on because every time I see one of these things, I just go, it is unnecessary, and all it does is confuse the issue. Because, what did I say last time? If a college has a biodiversity class, if you're banning anything that has to do with diversity, equity, and inclusion, do I then get to say, I guess I can't hold a biodiversity class anymore because it has the word diversity in it? And you might say to yourself, gosh, that sounds like that malicious compliance thing we were talking about earlier. The problem is, depending on how these new laws are worded, if there's not more, and I haven't read this particular law yet, I don't know what the final form looks like, DBZ reference there, but if it is not made clear what counts and what doesn't, then you could see something like that happening. Or schools like, well, in order to comply with the letter of the law, we have to divest ourselves of all these things that just happen to involve the words diversity, equity, and inclusion. When really all you need to do is just say, we are going to be auditing these colleges and universities for compliance with Title VI and or Title VII, depending on which is applicable. That's all. The laws are already there. The standards to follow are already in existence and in federal law. That's it. You don't need to have all these bolt-on, confusing DEI things. You don't. It's unnecessary. But anyway, Senate Bill 796, authored by Senator Adam Pugh, Republican of Edmond, would require universities to submit a certificate of compliance showing that tax dollars are not being spent on DEI initiatives to the governor and legislative leaders by July 1st, 2026, and every July 1st thereafter. Take out the DEI part. Just say you're in compliance with Title VI and Title VII. That's it. Again, you just confuse the issue. The measure passed in the House Post-Secondary Education Committee 4-2 on Tuesday, with Representative Michelle McCain, Democrat of Tulsa, and Representative Trish Ranson, Democrat of Stillwater, voting against it. Representative Denise Crosswhite Hayter, that's her name, a Republican of Piedmont, SB 796 House author, told the committee that the bill would stop preferential treatment at Oklahoma universities. Again, Title VI. She said she believed athletes at some universities had been required to participate in trainings on white privilege, but did not say where or when that had happened. Well, let's say it had. Title VI. The end. You don't need new legislation. The lawmaker said equity creates determined outcomes while equality creates outcomes based on merit. Well, that is the unfortunate current definition based on what the activities are. She did not vote on the bill Tuesday as she's not a member of that committee. Quote, what we're seeking is students that are going into college to learn, say, to be an engineer, having a whole other topic that they're having to study, taking out student loans, taking a longer time in college for something that is really not anything that was on their radar that they're focusing on for an education, Crosswhite Hayter said. Again, Title VI. During the meeting, McCain, a black and Native American woman, irrelevant, told Crosswhite Hayter that she was called a racial slur for the first time when she was 5 years old, adding that there are numerous other 5-year-olds who haven't had that experience. And DEI is what? McCain asked the representative whether she'd agree that kids who might be targeted with racial slurs would benefit from different types of support from children who don't face those taunts, equitable support rather than equal support, she said. Crosswhite Hayter said she would not agree. I am decidedly confused. You were called a name by another kid when you were 5. Oh my gosh. Can you believe it? Okay, well, heck, I guess that means we have to keep DEI, guys. I mean, the fundamental spirits of DEI got to stay. Yeah, I mean, obviously, if this lady was called a bad name back when she was a 5-year-old, then now we have to maintain a series of initiatives and policies that elevate or denigrate people on the basis of their race more often than not. Obviously, that's how that works. Okay. Anti-DEI bill stirs up past focus on Oklahoma University Women's Leadership Program. Oh, you mean a program that discriminates on the basis of sex? Okay. Oklahoma universities have already pulled back DEI initiatives in response to Stitt's 2023 executive order that required state agencies and higher education institutions to formally review the necessity and efficiency of DEI positions, departments, activities, procedures, and programs. Well, what you really need to do is just say, everything under your DEI umbrella needs to be audited for compliance with Title VI, Title VII, and, if it's relevant, Title IX. That's it. That's all you need to do. 5 months after the directive, the University of Oklahoma announced the closure of its National Education for Women's Leadership Program. Well, I mean, as long as you had a National Education for Men's Leadership Program going concurrently with it, there probably wouldn't be a problem, would there? The program encouraged young women to engage in politics and public policy and graduated more than 650 female students from 42 colleges since it was founded in 2002. At the time, the closure created heightened concerns about the fate of state-funded programs meant to empower women and minorities. State-funded programs, you say? You mean initiatives taking on federal financial assistance? We're back to Title VI. That conversation resurfaced during the committee meeting on Tuesday when Ranson referenced the program's closure and asked Cross-White Hader whether SB 796 would support that chilling effect, giving women fewer opportunities at universities. Well, here's an idea. I know this is a crazy idea. What if you had I don't know what you want to call it, a national education leadership program that had no filter on the basis of gender? Do you think, I don't know, the kinds of people that make 50% of the human population would then have an opportunity to... I don't know, maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm taking crazy pills here. What if you removed the filtering element from your program that is non-determinative of character or merit, especially in the area of leadership? It's a crazy idea. Quote, though I participated in that organization as well, that was an opportunity where the university took a proactive approach rather than the state giving them a directive, unquote, Cross-White Hader answered. Okay. She said that the program was never responsible for her decision to run for office, adding that she never wanted to be elected because she's a woman, but because she wanted to be the best candidate. Heaven forfend. During debate on the bill, McCain cited her own experiences to explain how systemic barriers can affect people of color. The 37-year-old representative is in the first generation of her family to have the rights of all Americans. Okay. And, quote, we're not talking about extra. We are talking about people who have systemically and historically been kept out of spaces and have to work much harder, and this is about just giving them the help that they should have had from the beginning, unquote, she said. Okay, again, at some point, we're going to have to start treating everyone equally, correct? At some point, we're going to have to draw a line and say, golly gee, if we mean what we say in the laws we've already passed to address inequality, then we're going to have to someday set aside what someone is and focus on who they are. When do we get to draw that line? I would have thought it would have been in 1964, but it keeps getting stretched out over and over and over and over and over again. So how much pity should we continue to take on people simply on the basis of what they are? Or simply because we decide to associate them with historical events that they've never personally experienced? Which is it? Do you want me to feel sorry for you, or do you want me to treat you as an equal? Choose one. Cross-white hater responded by saying, quote, where someone's history falls, we have come a long way, unquote. Well, someone's history? Anyway, quote, women in particular have the opportunity to serve in this body just like anyone else, but it is based on merit, Cross-white hater said. Quote, it is not based on an extra starting block or even starting from behind. Any of us getting in this building has worked to make ourselves get to this position, unquote. The two lawmakers continued to talk one-on-one for a few minutes after representatives voted to approve the bill. Again, I think bills like this are effectively unnecessary and duplicative, don't need to be there. The laws are on the books. They've been there for a long time now. Lean on those. Audit universities and colleges who have DEI programs and initiatives for compliance with Title VI, Title VII, and again, depending on the circumstances, Title IX. That's it. That's all you have to do. They keep complicating the issue. Tyre Deos, no, someone needs to step aside for this cross-hater because she's a woman of color. Well, I don't think cross-white hater is a woman of color. I think it was the other way. Either way. But yeah, no, we have to give special consideration to people and feel sorry for them because of what they look like or because the mystic chords of historical memory connect their melanin count to people and events they have nothing to do with. Yeah, that's it. That's what we have to do. Otho May, best high so far. Thank you, Strap. Oh, I don't know. I could do a better high. Oh, wait. 420 was yesterday. Dang it. That was a pot joke, if you didn't get it. Anyway. Peter, wasn't equal rights put in the Constitution back in the mid-1800s? Well, I mean, the nascent seeds of what would eventually become a better policy started. It took a while. It took a long time. But, it kind of started there. It's still used today, if you can believe it. If only the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Whenever I read these articles and I read this stuff, and I never see a mention of existing civil rights laws, I get a little itchy. I'm just like, it's right there, guys. It's been there a while now. You could just refer to that. Read by nature, the myth of the DEI excellence. If they had to work hard to get there, they wouldn't need quotas. That too. Yeah, if we're evaluating people on the basis of what they can do and their own personal excellence and not on their skin color, then we'd be in a better place. I just feel like we're always constantly having to catch up to gains we've made decades ago. It's like starting all over again. But I've said that for years now. Anyway, moving on. I found out just a few minutes ago, before the show started, that one of my longtime viewers, Bridget, is apparently currently staying at a Marriott hotel. So let's talk about Marriott and DEI. Marriott's CEO spoke out about DEI. The next day, he had 40,000 emails from his associates. 40,000 emails. Holy cow. Like Marriott, hold on. Marriott, I'm just curious. Hotels, workforce numbers. How many people work at Marriott? Let's see. Well, if I'm to believe the AI answer, and I'm only taking this as a suggestion because AI tends to give me 3 different answers for 3 different attempts, but at minimum, let's say, Marriott International had approximately 155,000 employees worldwide in 2024. Okay, now just for the sake of argument, and that number could be too low or too high, but let's just say for the sake of argument, it is 155,000 employees. So you're telling me that effectively 1/3 of your employee base sent an email individually one day after speaking out about DEI. What did he say? I guess that's the question. What did he say? Or I should say, what did the CEO say? It could be a woman. I don't know. Marriott International has one of the largest and happiest workforces in the world. Okay, the company boasts more than 800,000 associates. Okay, well, hey, AI lowballed it again. This is why I don't rely on AI answers for anything. 800,000 associates at its hotels and resorts around the world. And notably, it has a strong culture. In a petri dish, ranking number 8 on Fortune's 100 best companies to work for list in 2025. An impressive 90% of Marriott employees endorse the company, compared with a 57% average. Wow. Well, then, I'm happy to know that Bridget is staying at a hotel that has such a happy workforce. It's got to make it a better stay. Much of the company's success is driven by trust in leadership, including former chairman Bill Marriott, current chairman David S. Marriott, and CEO Anthony Capuano. I'm seeing a distinct difference in heritage there. In an interview at the Great Place to Work for All Summit in Las Vegas with the organization's CEO, Michael Bush, Capuano spoke about a recent crossroads and how he responded, all right? The leadership event hosted thousands of executives from more than 800 companies, and many are featured on the Fortune 100 Best Companies to Work For list. While Marriott leaders have publicly said that they aspire to be a leader in the diversity, equity, and inclusion space in recent years, President Donald Trump's executive orders and policies against the initiatives threw their plans into uncertainty. Oh, it was Donald Trump that did so, huh? You waited that long. Okay. The new policies could lead to changes in hiring, promotions, and training. Oh, like removing racial, gender, or orientation quotas? Oh no! Failure to comply could lead to cuts in federal funding to these private sector companies, although the legality of these changes is still being debated. Well, I'll tell you what, again, I go back to, I don't know what, can you imagine? Established federal civil rights law. Simple justice requires that public funds, to which all taxpayers of all races contribute, not be spent in any fashion which encourages, entrenches, subsidizes, or results in racial discrimination. If a recipient of federal assistance is found to have discriminated and voluntary compliance cannot be achieved, the federal agency providing the assistance should either initiate fund termination proceedings or refer the matter to the Department of Justice for appropriate legal action. So, Marriott, what have you been doing? It's not about what Trump just said. What have you been doing up to this point? The legality of these changes is still being debated. Anyway, Marriott CEO speaks out. After Trump announced sweeping changes to DEI in January, sweeping changes to, you mean the outright elimination of it? Okay, I guess that's a change. Many executives and companies were left reeling. Oh my God. Yeah, because companies and organizations hadn't been questioning the legality or the safety of this since 2022. Oh, only now, guys. It was only now. Capuano says he met with his executive leadership team in Bethesda, Maryland, where they decided to take a week to research and process before a meeting began. You needed a week to research and process before the meeting began. Okay. The CEO then flew to Los Angeles for the America's Lodging Investment Summit. While there, he was inundated with questions about Marriott's approach to DEI in the future. Okay. Rather than stay silent, Capuano recalled many conversations with his mentor and former chairman, Bill Marriott, and decided to speak. Oh boy, guys, here we go. This is it. What did he say? Quote, "The winds blow, but there are some fundamental truths for those 98 years, Capuano said. Quote, "We welcome all to our hotels, and we create opportunities for all, and fundamentally those will never change. The words might change, but that's who we are as a company," unquote. So what does any of that have to do with maintaining DEI policies? Are you saying that prior to implementing DEI, you discriminated against who was allowed to come to your hotel or who you were going to hire? What are you talking about? Capuano says he went back to his hotel that night hoping he had said the right thing. Well, let's read what he said and just kind of take it as it is. "The winds blow, but there are some fundamental truths for those 98 years. We welcome all to our hotels, and we create opportunities for all, and fundamentally those will never change. The words might change, but that's who we are as a company, unquote. So is it that people are just really, really, really tied to the verbiage on this? Like, it has to be those three words, or else somehow you're, what, a traitor or something? Let's find out. Capuano's message was simple, but it didn't go unnoticed by associates. He was overwhelmed by how his employees responded. Quote, "Within 24 hours, I had 40,000 emails from Marriott associates around the world saying thank you," he said. Oh! Many expressed appreciation to work for a company whose values aligned with their own. Really? So I have to ask, and I don't know because they don't specify here, as is often the case in these articles, what actually constitutes the DEI policies and initiatives endorsed and taken on by Marriott over the years? Because DEI does not inherently mean illegal or questionable, but it is a red flag. So has Marriott had hiring quotas? Have they had executive compensation plans based on diversity quotas? Anything like that? I'm going to have to do some research. Let me make a note. I have to look up Marriott DEI. Oh boy, guys, another research stream or results thereof. Marriott DEI details. All right, moving on. Marriott is among Fortune's best companies to work for that are sticking up for DEI policies right now. Others on the list include Delta and Cisco. Is that Commander Cisco? No, sorry, Delta. Okay, Delta and Cisco. Okay, tell you what, guys. Guys, gals, and otherwise. Okay, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to do the next DEI Deathwatch, unless something amazing happens in the news. I'm going to do similar to what I did last week with the research into Oregon, Massachusetts, and Vermont. And instead, I'm going to look into Marriott, Delta, and Cisco's publicly published DEI initiatives to see what actually is made up in there. Like, what exactly is DEI to these companies? Anything worthy of comment? I guess we'll find out. I'll find out, and then you'll find out, and that'll be on Friday's DEI Deathwatch, because I'm too curious not to look it up. And maybe you are too. Advocates Diaboli, this entire DEI seems to be another example of people having two different arguments at this point. Yeah, they can't seem to settle on what it is they mean and what they mean to say. It's like, well, we value our values. We'll change some words. We're not backing down. It's something else. Read by nature. Maybe you should ask Hillary for advice on how to process them. Yeah, we need a week to process this, guys. Before we talk about DEI, we need a week. Why? Why do you need a week to process? I guess I've taken better part of 9 years to process DEI, so I guess a week is okay. I guess a week's all right. But speaking of changing words, or, sort of moving deck chairs around on the Titanic, let's talk about the Mayo Clinic. Yes, when your best foods or Miracle Whip is in a bad way, take them to the Mayo Clinic. Mayo Clinic renames DEI office to Office of Belonging. There you are. Oh, belonging. I missed you so much. The executive orders and everybody else has been pushing accessibility so much lately. I thought belonging went by the wayside, but now, thankfully, the Mayo Clinic has brought it back. I've been surprised, and I've said this before, I've been surprised that belonging hasn't been the buzzword that's come up more often than not. As much as they tried to push it over the last 5 or 6 years, suddenly it just went by the wayside. Now we have it back. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mayo Clinic. The Mayo Clinic is renaming its DEI office to instead be called the Office of Belonging, or OOB, OOB. We just need the first letter to somehow be a B again, or something like the Belonging Office of Belonging, or the Best Foods Office of Belonging. There we go, because it's the Mayo Clinic. You see what I did there? Do you see what I see what I did there? Do you like that? I hope so. Anyway, since 2020, Mayo Clinic has intentionally focused on belonging as a cornerstone of staff well-being. Oh man, I'm having such warm and fuzzy flashbacks to the streams and videos I did back in 2020 and thereabouts. Oh, mwah. Chef's kiss. Andrea Kalmanovitz, Mayo's director of media relations, said in a statement quoted in the Minnesota Star Tribune, quote, "In keeping with this focus and recent national events, we're embracing an opportunity to accelerate Mayo Clinic's belonging journey to reflect our culture of collaboration and respect and support positive patient experiences," unquote. Kalmanovitz added, "Yes, everybody, won't you please think of the patients?" The rebrand, and that's all it is, following President Donald Trump's January executive order, quote, "ending illegal discrimination and restoring merit-based opportunity," unquote, directing federal agencies to end all DEI practices and asking the private sector to, quote, "end illegal DEI discrimination and preferences," unquote. The Office of Belonging page on Mayo Clinic's website says that, quote, "Our vision is to create a global environment of empowered belonging. This requires building an environment of psychological safety, making Mayo Clinic a place where people from all backgrounds, cultures, and experiences can access the best healthcare and where all staff can bring their authentic best selves," unquote. Oh, nostalgia. Nostalgia. On its website, Mayo Clinic says that it received $500.7 million in 2024 from federal and state sources for research funding. Uh-oh! Does that mean that you guys are the recipients of federal financial assistance? You sure are! Is anything you've been up to in the last, 5, 6, 10 years discriminated on the basis of race in any of your programs or activities? I guess I need to do some research on that one too. Okay, Mayo Clinic. Oh boy. Unless this article says otherwise. If this article actually informs me, then I'll skip that one. The Office of Belonging page gives a nod to DEI priorities, stating that, quote, "Equity is embodied in every aspect of Mayo Clinic, from the individuals who constitute it to the organization as a whole. We embrace all people who come through our doors, whatever their race or ethnicity, sexual orientation, gender identity, disability status, military service, faith, or culture. Success is only possible when we include diverse experiences, perspectives, thoughts, and voices in everything we do," unquote. I'm going to be looking to see if Mayo Clinic ever had any hiring quotas. The Mayo Clinic, established in 1864, now says its, quote, "work regarding belonging is delivered through the internal community of passionate people, communities, and initiatives, recognizing that this work is neither centralized nor hierarchical," unquote. Okay. Fox News Digital reached out to Mayo Clinic for comment, but did not immediately receive a response. Okay, so yes, label changing. I guess I got some work ahead of me. I got to do some research. I thought I was done with this stuff after I graduated from college, but no, here we are. Rock us like a hurricane. Also, the lovely Sherry doing a... Are you thinking of the Simon and Garfunkel, or are you thinking of the Disturbed lovely Sherry and saying, "Hello, darkness, my old friend"? Either one's acceptable, although I got to say the Disturbed one is pretty epic, all things considered. Belonging, now, possession. Yeah, let me try that again. Belonging, noun, possession, usually used in plural, to close or intimate relationships, sense of belonging. Yeah, this is something that they added to the litany. Thank you, Peter. Yeah, it was roundabouts 2020, I want to say, when it became, it first started popping its head up in a lot of the presentations and panel discussions and promotional videos I saw. They really started pushing belonging all over the place. Veterans of the channel know this. And really, every time you add a word to the litany, all you're trying to do is sort of pad out your resume or make yourself seem like you're better than all those other DEI consultants, that you have like a master's in belonging. It always bewildered me. Like, what exactly does that mean? You know, you can't have inclusion without belonging, because you can bring everybody to the table, but if they don't feel like they belong, then really you're not accomplishing anything. Now, you might think that sounds like some sort of like sarcastic, snarky remark. But no, it is effectively verbatim the rhetoric you hear when you hear someone talk about what is belonging as it pertains to DEI. That's about it. That's about it. Because every letter prior to that isn't enough. You have to add on a new one. So it's D, it's E, it's I, it's B, it's A, it's J. I really think I should probably do this as a project. I should come up with an ultimate DEI resume, a 26-letter DEI resume. We'll start off with D, E, I, A, B, and J. Those have already been established. And then I have to go down the remainder of the alphabet and come up with some positive-sounding, self-important adjective or concept that takes us all the way through the alphabet. I should do that. I should get business cards for that. That sounds like a plan. I'll do that. Let me make a note. I'm making a lot of notes today. Okay, so we want full alphabet DEI litany. I could probably do, I should probably come up with the list and then just make a video of me singing it along, sort of like the Nations of the World from Animaniacs. I am complicating my life the more that I talk. I need to move on. I need to move on to the next article. I'm giving myself so much work to do. Al Sharpton holds constructive and candid meeting with Target CEO over DEI initiatives. Yes, guys, did you know that I think we just exited the planned boycott economic blackout for Target and Amazon and Walmart? Or maybe it's still going on. I thought it was like from the 7th through the 14th or something, but maybe it's gone on further. But guys, just so you know, we're all saved now because Al Sharpton has talked to Target. Oh boy. Here we go. The CEO of Target met MSNBC host Reverend Al Sharpton on Thursday as the latter's organization puts pressure on companies that previously scaled back DEI initiatives. Sharpton met with Brian Cornell, Target's CEO, to discuss how Sharpton has encouraged his followers to boycott the chain as it has reduced its DEI efforts. The news of the meeting was first reported by CNBC. Boy, oh boy. How many people do you think, and I don't know, but how many people do you think constitute Sharpton's followers? If you had to put a round number on it. And then of that number, here's your math problem for today, guys. Estimate how many people constitute Sharpton's followers, and then of that number, what percentage actually went along with the boycott? What do you think that number is? He called the meeting with Cornell, quote, very constructive and candid, unquote, and said that he would, quote, inform our allies, including Reverend Dr. Jamal Bryant, of our discussion, what my feelings are, and we will go from there, unquote. Well, that's a decidedly opaque assessment of what happened. Bryant is the Atlanta pastor who organized a Target fast for Lent to protest that chain's scaling down of its DEI policies. So they want discrimination in hiring practices and supplier chain practice. I guess so. Fox News Digital reached out to Target, Cornell, and Sharpton for comment, but did not immediately receive a response. Oh, well. Let's see. We got some answers here. Kieverdam says 8. So you think that he has 8 followers or that 8% of his followers are actually following along? 42. That's the answer to everything. 1 says Angelverse. I bet you're counting Al Sharpton himself. Snortapoopa says 69. Uh-oh. Advocate says 42 and a fish. Well, that would make it appropriate, wouldn't it? Yeah. So there we go on that. Anything else? Oh, there's more. But wait, there's more. In a reported statement to CNBC, Sharpton said that Target reached out to him for the meeting. Such a wise decision. Quote, you can't have an election come and all of a sudden change your old position, Sharpton said. Well, you can. And they did. So, quote, if an election determines your commitment to fairness, then fine, you have a right to withdraw from us, but then we have a right to withdraw from you, unquote. Well, Al, I don't know if you know this, nobody was requiring you to shop at Target in the first place. In fact, okay, does anybody here think that Al Sharpton shops at Target? Maybe he does. But how often do you think Al Sharpton goes to Target for what he needs? Do you think he actually goes anywhere for what? Doesn't he have people to buy stuff for him at this point? Anyway, in January, President Donald Trump signed the executive order ending illegal discrimination and restoring merit-based opportunity, directing federal agencies to end all DEI practices and asking the private sector to, quote, end illegal DEI discrimination and preferences, unquote. On February 20th, Florida Attorney General James Uthmeier, I am Uthred, son of Uthred, filed a class action lawsuit with America First Legal and law firms Boyden, Gray, and Lawson Huck Gonzalez against Target for the company's alleged intentional deception of investors regarding its, quote, radical LGBTQ activism, unquote. The lawsuit says that Target shareholders lost tens of billions of dollars and that the company, quote, actively misled investors, claiming that they would look out for the possible risks of their DEI and environmental, social, and governance policies, but actually only tracked the response of left-leaning activist groups. Interesting. Part of Target's Pride merchandise that drew headlines in 2023 included an adult one-piece swimsuit featuring a, quote, tuck-friendly construction, unquote, and, quote, extra crotch coverage, unquote. The retailer also reportedly sold chest binders. Following the rollout of the merchandise, the store's market value fell to $57.7 billion from $74 billion. That is a lot of billions. In a Thursday post on Instagram, Sharpton wrote, quote, as attacks on diversity, equity, and inclusion escalate nationwide, we're standing up, not backing down. DEI is under siege. What? Under siege? What, is Steven Seagal around? Oh my gosh, has he gone into dark territory yet? Is he on a ship with Tommy Lee Jones? Please at least tell me that Erica Eleniak is in a cake. At least tell me that. The fact that I can pull all of that off the top of my head tells you just how old I am and how much useless trivia I've got locked up there. Anyway, DEI is under siege, and some are acting like it's already dead. Oh no, I'm not one of them. Reverend Al cannot count me among those who think it's already dead. Because just check the name of the show. But at NAN, I forget what that's called again, the National Action Network or something. We know the fight is far from over. Today marks 67 straight weeks of action. We've been on the front lines outside Bill Ackman's office in New York City, demanding accountability and pushing back on the corporate rollbacks. Now is not the time to slow down. It's time to turn up, unquote. Boy, it sounds like a big battle. It sounds like I'm part of a battle, guys. Oh man, I need to generate some AI scribe and battle gear or something. Or just overlay my avatar face on, like, Maximus from Gladiator or something. Maybe I should do that. The Battle Against DEI, starring Scribelight. Under Siege 3, DEI, something, something. I don't know. What do you think? I'm not going to make another project for myself. Between the sing-song DEI alphabet video and the research into these corporations, I think I've given myself enough work for this week. I think so. All right, and let's see, anybody say anything? Let's see. Steven Seagal is too busy eating a cannoli. Probably. In Moscow. More likely than not. Let's see. Read by nature. Just picturing a mashup of the Under Siege cake stripper scene. That's Erica Eleniak. And the cake scene from Addams Family. I'm not quite sure how you got to the Addams Family one, but, you know, hey, to each their own. Whatever floats your boat. And lastly, let's go back to school for a few moments from the Associated Press about how DEI rollbacks hit campus support systems for students of color. Well, I mean, we talked about this previously, that whole Thomas Sowell quote, which I think Fostonia brought up. I wish I'd actually clipped that because that would have been a good little element there. But yeah, again, I'm not going to read it out again. Just have it up on the screen. Title VI, Civil Rights Act of 1964. You know, if you've been given a preference for a very long time and suddenly it's taken away and equality rules the day, it might feel like you're being discriminated against. Campus mentors, move-in events, scholarships, diversity offices that made them feel welcome on predominantly white campuses. As U.S. colleges pull back on diversity, equity, and inclusion practices, students of color say they are starting to lose all of these things and more. And... Boy, you mean things that were provided you simply on the basis of your skin color are going away? Okay. The full scope of campus DEI rollbacks is still emerging as colleges respond to the Trump administration's orders against diversity practices, which again should just have been comply with Title VI. But anyway, students at some schools said early cuts are chipping away at the sense of community that helped open the door to higher education. Do tell. And boy, this is, whoever this guy is, this is their poster child for this article. I don't know who this is. It doesn't even say in the photographs. Okay, it's this guy. Okay, are we gonna hear from this person? Let's find out. Quote, "It feels like we're going back." You know what? I agree. It does feel like we're going back. It's felt like we've been going back for me since 2016. Well, what do you mean it means? I don't know how else to describe it, said Brianna Iris Rosario, a junior at the University of Michigan, which is closing its DEI office and scrapping a campus-wide inclusion plan. Quote, "It's like our voices aren't being heard," unquote. No, it's like your voice isn't being given preference on the basis of your melanin count. That's what is happening. I know it feels like suppression or oppression. It isn't. It's the wonderful world of equality. The retreat from DEI has been building for years, driven by Republican-led states that have ordered public colleges to close DEI offices and eliminate programs. But it has accelerated under President Donald Trump and his threats to cut federal funding. Yeah, and under what justification would he have to cut federal funding? I can't even imagine. It's a mystery. Call Robert Stack. Trump's administration escalated the battle when it suggested in a letter to Harvard University that the school should lose its nonprofit status for defying federal orders, including a demand to eliminate DEI, quote, "to the satisfaction of the federal government," unquote. Well, I'm going to keep pointing at the sign. I'm going to keep pointing at the sign. It's just going to keep happening. At Michigan, students have been told the casualties include orientation events for new Latino, Arab, and Asian American students, along with the LEAD Scholars Program, a financial aid award for Black, Latino, and Native American students. Oh, so programs or activities that discriminate on the basis of race or color, as you say, and national origin. Okay, oh, gosh, I wonder why those would. I don't know, guys. I don't know. I'm boggled. Coming from a low-income part of Detroit, Rosario said winning the scholarship cemented her decision to attend Michigan. She later met some of her best friends at a move-in event for Latino students called ALMA. Okay, losing those programs, she fears, could reinforce a sense of isolation among Hispanic students who make up 6% of the school's undergraduates. So wait a second. You're afraid that there's going to be a sense of isolation amongst Hispanic students when you're missing an event that was segregated on the basis of your heritage, your ethnicity, your race, whatever you want to call it. So you're fearing isolation in something that segregates you going away. Okay. Quote, "It would be hard for my it would be hard to find my community if I didn't have access to these resources," she said. Well, why don't you make friends with other kids? I've been told over and over and over and over and over again over the years by DEI advocates, consultants, and elsewise, that really the problems arise when you have a homogenous society around you. Everybody benefits from a little diversity in their life. So why don't you make friends outside your ethnic group? Is that impossible, or is that something that you just don't like? Do you not like people who fall outside your ethnicity or something? I don't understand. What would you call such a person? I don't know. Colleges respond to federal orders. A February memo from the Education Department directed schools and colleges to eliminate race from any decision-making around hiring, admissions, housing, financial aid, and student life. Guy, I wonder what might have inspired that. I don't know, guys. It's probably something that just happened. It's probably it was never consideration prior to January 20th, 2025. It obviously light switch went off and suddenly it occurred. It warned violators could lose access to federal money. Oh my gosh. On what basis does the Trump administration have to make such a threat? I don't know. Dozens of universities have since come under investigation, all while the Trump administration freezes billions of dollars at Harvard and other colleges accused of defying orders on campus anti-Semitism and transgender athletes. Michigan was among the first to make major DEI rollbacks, and others have followed to avoid federal scrutiny. Others have rebranded DEI offices, hello Mayo Clinic, and scrubbed the term from websites, and others still are standing firm in support of DEI. A Case Western Reserve University in Cleveland. What? Oh, at Case Western Reserve University. Good golly. Okay, officials cited the federal orders when they moved to close the campus DEI office last month. Fair enough. Quote, "It is clear we must be in compliance with them to receive the federal funding that is critical to our present and future," said Eric Kaler, Case's president, in a campus message. Well, carrot and stick. There you go. Kaler said the office will be replaced by an Office for Campus Enrichment and Engagement. Though it's unclear what that will entail. Oh, I have a sneaking suspicion. So that's why audits are necessary. Simply getting rid of the words should not be a green light. The private university receives about $250 million a year in federal research funding. Well, how private is it then? A private university, $250 million in federal money. Doesn't seem so private. 16% of its total revenue, according to university data. Well, even if it was only 1 cent of federal funding, they'd still be beholden to Title VI. Justin Pippins, said the DEI office was like a second home on campus. The junior called it a stress-free zone where he could get personal and academic guidance. What does that have to do with DEI? He grew so close with one staff member that he came to know her as Auntie. Okay, he said it's unclear whether those employees will still have jobs at the new office. Well, why do you need a DEI office for academic guidance? That's what guidance counselors are for. My college had all sorts of guidance counseling and stuff. They didn't predicate it on race. See, this is what I'm talking about in these articles. They mention these things, but they never really give you any details like, why does this fall under a DEI situation? Case also is halting. Case also is halting. Okay? It's Envision Weekend, an orientation event for underrepresented students. Oh, you mean an event or program at an institution that accepts federal funding that discriminates on the basis of, I'm assuming, race? Oh, shucks. Pippin said it's a setback for him and other black students who make up just 6% of undergraduates at Case. Now, he said, we no longer have our central support systems on campus. Guys. They don't have their segregated racist support systems on campus anymore, guys. What are they going to do, man? What do they do? A victory for DEI opponents. In Virginia, Republican Governor Glenn Youngkin celebrated when the University of Virginia's governing board voted to end DEI programs in March. Quote, DEI is done at the University of Virginia, Youngkin said in a statement, calling it a shift towards merit-based opportunity. Like I say, this is a sort of a sweet and sour situation every time I read one of these stories. Like, on the one hand, yes, I'm glad that DEI is getting the focus that it should on a legal level. On the other hand, we don't need new legislation specifically citing DEI. It's already in the law. It's already there. Speaking of being already there, because I'm already there, it's Latino Slant. Or Polly, as he's known elsewise. Scribe Light, have a great scribe. I have great scribes, for I am a great scribe, and as I am my own person, I possess a scribe, and that scribe is great. Thank you, Polly. Also, Ben Parker. Ben Parker, okay, I don't know for sure. I don't want to have a psychic moment here, but just be careful, Ben. I mean, but of course, at the same time, depending on what happens to you, may result in one of the greatest superheroes of all time finding his purpose in life. Yeah. Okay, anyway, moving on. Richard the Dungeon Crawler, good afternoon. I remember you from over on Midnight's Edge. Also, Manolo Rivera. Oh my gosh. Look out, Manolo. Stay away from Tony's sister. Stay away. She's not for you. She's too good for you, Manolo. She's too good for you. And also, Meh. Good afternoon. We're almost done here. Let's see. Tyler English. Please tell me what his major is at the university. Please tell me he's an English major. That'd be great. Tyler English, a senior at UVA, said students have been told scholarships and graduate programs focused on minority students are being scaled back or eliminated. I can't even imagine why. Why do you guys think that might be? It's a mystery. It really is. It just boggles my mind. Among other changes, a student group called Men of Color, Honor, and Ambition is replacing the word color with character. Oh, that's a callback to Martin Luther King Jr.'s speech, isn't it? And that's the kind of thing, if you're going to have that kind of stuff, that's what it should be. Good. Of all the word changes I've heard so far, I like that one. Quote, for a portion of us, we now question whether our identities and voices are truly valued in this space, said English, a member of the campus's Black Student Alliance. Well, let me tell you something, Tyler. Would you rather your skin color be valued or who you are and what you actually say as an individual? Because that's the implication and the construction of everything prior to this. So you tell me, do you want simply a non-determinative factor of your makeup to count as an identity that you need to be valued on, up or down? Or would you rather be assessed on, as is said here, your character? I know what my answer would be, but to each their own. University spokesperson Brian Coy wouldn't provide details on DEI rollbacks and said he couldn't confirm changes to scholarships. The government's anti-DEI campaign is being challenged in court by opponents who say it offers little clarity on exactly which practices are outlawed, leaving schools to weed out anything that could be construed as DEI. And therein lies the problem with all of these additional bolt-on statutes and legislative moves and everything. It is all unnecessary. And again, I apologize for being a broken record, but I want to make it clear this is where I stand. You don't outlaw DEI. You enforce existing civil rights laws. That's what you do. That's what they should have done from the top. They should get rid of outlawing DEI because it does, by the letter of these laws as they're written, make things far more confusing. All you say is, we're going to be examining all of your DEI initiatives for compliance with existing civil rights law. If everything you call DEI doesn't violate the law, and that's entirely possible, then you're fine. But do you have a DEI program which sets aside money specifically for students on the basis of their race? Well, you're out of luck. Do you have spaces and events set aside specifically for students on the basis of their ethnicity or their race or their religion or anything else? You're treading on thin ice. That's all you have to do. As a result of the vague directives, quote, those who are advocating against this work are getting a higher return on their investment than they should, said Paulette Granberry Russell, president of the National Association of Diversity Officers in Higher Education. A higher return on their investment than they should. I guess it depends, because again, if you guys are just being, what was the word, maliciously compliant, just to show off or complain, that's on you. There is one special word in the executive order that at least provides as much clarity as is possibly necessary, and that is the word illegal. Any illegal DEI policies and practices or initiatives. So, again, look at Title 6, 7, and 9 specifically in most instances. Are you in compliance? If the answer is no, then you know what to do. Yet opponents are pressing the White House to go further. Christopher Rufo, a conservative strategist who has fought DEI, said the government should root out DEI using tools that force desegregation during the civil rights movement. Quote, DEI is a violation of the Civil Rights Act, Rufo said on X. It could be. Elements of it could be. Again, you're getting too attached to the term rather than the function. Quote, any publicly funded institution that continues to practice DEI should face a federal investigation, consent decree, termination of funds, and loss of nonprofit status. If that doesn't work, send in the 101st Airborne. Okay. I agree with him in part. I guess I'm a bit more conservative. Any institution that announces that they practice DEI should face a federal investigation / audit. That's the first thing that should happen. And any institution that simply changes the name of their organization within their college or university or otherwise should also be audited for exactly what has happened since you changed the label. It's all about compliance with existing law. It's not about the verbiage that you use to describe it. Because again, if I change my office from the Office of DEI to the Office of Belonging, well, obviously, it's no longer a DEI program, right? Because the Democratic People's Republic of Korea is exactly what it says on the label. Some fear diversity setbacks. In Michigan, the rollbacks are targeting programs that aim to preserve racial diversity after the state banned affirmative action in 2006, including the LEAD program. And affirmative action did what again? Oh yeah, set racial tests on people having access to things. University of Michigan officials declined to discuss changes, but a campus message from President Santa Ono, said the school will find other ways to support students, including an expansion of scholarships for low-income students. I love how when you're no longer allowed to discriminate on the basis of race goes away, either by state elimination or now because of the Supreme Court on a federal level, that your alternative to try to still do what you're doing before is to equate race with class. Don't you love that? Anyway, Rosario and other LEAD scholarship winners received an email saying there would be, quote, no adverse financial impact to their financial aid with no further explanation. Rosario doesn't entirely blame the university for the cuts, but she wonders why Michigan moved quickly to make changes while some colleges held firm. I'm going to guess, and I could be wrong, that the amount of federal financial assistance this school receives is significant. And so why would you want to roll the dice on losing it? Whereas, Harvard and other schools already have, billions of dollars. The first in her family to attend college, she fears what it means for the next generation of students. Oh, they might actually be assessed on their merit? I know, it's a scary thought. It is a frightening thought. Quote, they've taken away our sense of community, she said. How? Quote, it just makes it that much harder for people of color to feel comfortable pursuing higher education? Why? Again, I wish I had the Thomas Sowell quote in front of me. Yeah, if you've been receiving preferences for a long time and been the beneficiary of positive discrimination, and suddenly that's taken away, it probably does feel like you're losing out on something. Yeah, you're losing out on an unfair advantage. I know, it's terribad, but heaven forfend. Anyway, saying, I think the 101st Airborne is a reference to the Little Rock Nine when Eisenhower sent them to Little Rock Central High School to guarantee an integration. You know what? Given Christopher Rufo's academic career, I would not be surprised if that was the reference. But you got it. I didn't. Because I'm an English major. Not a Tyler English major, but an English major, not a history major. But anyway. Ben Parker. Oh, he's talking to Matt. I got to go back up for a Ben Parker. Let's see. I'm just wondering, did you say anything to my Ben Parker joke? Oh, I don't have a nephew named Peter. Okay. Yet. You never, unless you have no siblings, I suppose. I'm just saying, just be careful out there, Ben. Just saying. But yeah, that is the DEI Deathwatch for this Monday, guys. All those stories, holy cats. A lot of similar themes, a lot of similar leavings out of details, some of which, between now and Friday, I am honor-bound to look up. So, on the next episode of DEI Deathwatch, on Friday at 12:30 p.m. Pacific Time, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, I am honor-bound to look up and find out what I can about Marriott, Delta, Cisco, and Mayo Clinic insofar as their stated DEI programs, probably from the recent past, because I have a feeling, just like Mayo Clinic has changed the name of its office, there may be some scrubbing that has taken place in the interim. And the whole coming up with a new DEI litany of letters so I can head them all off at the pass, I'll work on that. If I decided to turn it into a musical, I'll have to work with somebody who actually does music to help me out with that. But elsewise, everybody, thank you so much for joining me. Moderators, thank you for keeping an eye on things, even though everyone here is so well behaved. You have very, very little to do. Everybody who donated either to myself or to the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society donation page at the top of the chat box, thank you guys so much for your generosity. Very much appreciate it. Hello to all you Latino slanters out there. Hope you're having a good day, and thank you for joining the show. And also, check out Latino Slant if you haven't already for all of your entertainment news of a Latino variety and elsewise, hosted by Polly and let's see what else. You'll find me next, probably Wednesday, on Midnight's Edge in the morning at 9:05 a.m. Pacific Time, noon 05 p.m. Eastern Time. And, of course, Thursday at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern will be the next episode of DEI. No, that's DEI Deathwatch Friday. Next episode of TED Excellence. Get my shows mixed up. I'm so booked these days. And for TED Excellence this week, I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do, but boy, I have some options. How about the paradox of sustaining female leadership in animation? Or why gender inequity still exists and what to do about it. Or why I hang out naked with strangers. That's the title of the TEDx, guys. That's not a declaration from myself. Just saying. I'm still wary of doing that one because I don't know if I want to have what that guy's not wearing on my channel, but it's out there. It's out there. I might have to put like a pixelation up over it and we just listen to it as an audio track. Anyway, that's all what might be coming up in the near future. But everyone, have a good rest of your Monday. Hope you have a good week ahead of you. I hope you're all safe and well. If you're not well, please get well soon. And I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.